We have a diagnosis for Lulu.
She needs a miracle. Problem is, we don't know where Lucky is.
You have to find him and bring him home. Who are you? Just call me Lucky.
Big news coming out of Port Charles. Drew, Jason, Lucky, Dante, and Robin have all been held captive. But next year, we can look forward to Luke's return from captivity. In the meantime, Lulu, who has been searching for her firstborn son for years, now urgently needs a transplant. With her health deteriorating, she's determined to find Lucky. I'm thrilled that Lucky is making a comeback. It seems like Lulu might finally wake up, which is a relief. Her story has been on hold for too long, and I'm eager to see how her return will shake things up. That guy asking, "Who are you?" looks familiar. I'm wondering if he's someone from the show's past. Lucky's back, and things are about to get exciting. JJ always delivers. It's unfortunate that Nicholas is still in prison. He could have been an ideal match for Lulu, since he previously donated bone marrow when she was a toddler. I don't understand why Nicholas is still behind bars. Cyrus, Ava, and Sonny have all committed serious crimes and are free, while Nicholas, who only kept a psycho locked up without torture, is imprisoned in a worse facility than Pentonville, where Heather Weber, who has a long history of murder, is also confined. It just doesn't add up. I remember when Nicholas was supposed to be the match for Lulu. It was a significant moment when Lucky and Nicholas reunited years ago. Laura's desperation to have her son there, especially with Luke, Bobby, and Spencer gone, is understandable. Nicholas's imprisonment only adds to the drama. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Messy Syrup. It's me, Abby, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. Let's talk about Ethan. I really wish they would bring back the original Ethan at the same time as Lucky. Adding more of the Spencer family to the show would definitely shake things up. Honestly, I expected Lucky to return in a more peaceful and polite way, not like this. GH doesn't always need to be so dramatic when bringing back old characters. But then again, it wouldn't be GH without some drama, right? It seems like Lucky's storyline is somehow tied to Holly, who's also making a comeback. It's great to see Lucky back, and with Lulu's life hanging in the balance, it makes sense for Laura to find him so he can be there when she, inevitably, wakes up. Maybe Nicholas will save her, just like he did when she was a baby. Having Lucky home would be a bonus, just guessing here though. I love Jonathan Jackson as Lucky and I'm thrilled he's returning. And I'm also glad they're finally doing something with Lulu's storyline. But am I the only one who remembers that when Lulu was a baby, Nicholas was her only match to save her life, not Lucky? I'm no doctor, but genetically speaking, Lucky wouldn't be a match in this situation. They'd have to turn to Prince Nicholas again. Does this bother anyone else? Lucky wasn't a match, which is why Nicholas returned in the first place. Lulu was sick, and Nicholas was the only one who matched because no one else did. It would be nice if they could bring back a character without resorting to the captivity trope. We've seen it with Patient 6, Drew, and now Lucky. It's a bit of a soap cliche at this point. Still, I'm happy to see Lucky's return. I never liked how they wrote him out as a deadbeat dad. It wasn't true to his character. I would have loved to see the original Lulu return too, but I've grown to love our coma lady as well. For long-term fans, yes, Nicholas was the only bone marrow match for Lulu when she was younger, but Lucky could be a liver donor. Bone marrow and liver donations have different matching criteria, so even if Lucky wasn't a bone marrow match, he could still be a liver donor match. Please don't drag out this storyline with Lucky. I usually don't mind when characters leave, but bringing back the dead is where I draw the line. If someone needs to leave, just send them on a long trip, like they did with Blaze. I really hope she comes back. As for Lulu, I missed what the nurse said to Laura and Elizabeth, so I'll have to catch up on that. And by the way, I do like Anna. Sorry if that's an unpopular opinion. At least Laura's best two kids will be back. It's been a long adjustment with them being gone, but it's so much better than having to deal with creepy Nicholas again. If I remember correctly, Nicholas is Lulu's half-brother, and Lucky is her full brother, sharing the same dad. And wasn't there a guy named Ethan at one point? They didn't bring back the original Lucky, did they? It's been so long, maybe my memory is fuzzy. Hopefully, Lucky can come back and save the day. Anyone else with me, or am I just delusional? Thanks for listening. So now Lulu needs another miracle transplant, and this time only Lucky can do it. Before, it was Nicholas. It's like a game of sibling hide and seek. Whoever's hiding away is the one who can save her. Given that Nicholas was the match when she needed a bone marrow transplant, he'd likely still be the match now. This storyline feels off and like a poor use of the show's history. I haven't even watched this episode yet, and I'm already finding the premise of needing to find Lucky to save Lulu ridiculous. I'm sure she needs some sort of donation or transfusion from a sibling again. Last time, when she needed this as a child, Nicholas was the only match and saved her life. We know where he is, so there's no drama there. Why change character history just to serve a writer's purpose? Don't be lazy, be original, and stay true to the characters' histories. I'm thrilled to see Jonathan Jackson, JJ, back as Lucky, but I really hope they don't recycle the old Lucky was kidnapped by the Cassadine storyline. That's been done to death, and it's time for something fresh. I also hope they respect JJ's values, especially regarding the storyline with the son he has with Liz. That's all I'll say about that. I would love to see them touch on the Lucky and Liz romance, but honestly, that's not my main focus. I stopped watching soaps just for couples a long time ago. What I really want is a good story and strong acting. JJ has the talent. Let's just hope the writers and Valentini give him a story that lives up to his abilities. I'd also hope he doesn't stay too long, maybe no more than a year. The show has become too woke, and I don't want JG to compromise his values just to satisfy GH fans. His faith and family are far more important. Now, who are these people holding all these characters from Port Charles captive? If I lived there, I'd be packing my bags with all the abductions going on. I'm curious to see how Lucky will escape this time. Just my opinion, but we don't really need Lulu back. Sam and Dante's relationship is fine as it is, and we don't need Lucky returning just to save her. G8 is getting to the point where I can skip through large chunks of episodes, and I've been watching for 40 years. Instead, how about bringing Finn back? I loved him with Elizabeth. It feels like they're just piling on plots now. First, we had Drew and Willow's mess, and now this. We're nearing the end of the season, so is this going to be a quick Lulu is saved, but not waking up, or will she die? And what about Lucky? Will he be back next season or not? The same goes for Rick. Is he leaving at the end of the season? And what's the deal with Sonny? The only thing I feel sure of is that the season will end with Molly and Christina never speaking again, forcing Alexis to choose between her daughters. And I'm still questioning if Michael and Willow will end up divorcing. This whole situation reminds me of when Drew came back and was beaten as a prisoner, or when Ryan switched places with Kevin. It's just more recycled storylines, shaking my head. Fun fact, Jonathan Jackson made his film debut in Camp Nowhere exactly 30 years ago today. Welcome back, Jonathan, to GH as Lucky. Now, regarding Nicholas, don't forget he's helped out before. With Victor Cassadine gone, let's not pretend Nicholas is still alive somewhere. We last saw him in Africa during Luke's funeral, and Laura even unplugged the TV when Helena was on. Luke is gone, and there's no bringing him back. He's retired. The last time Lucky was in Port Charles, he left quickly, and Bobby was Carly's sister. I'm not a huge fan of Lucky's character, but it's great that Jonathan Jackson decided to return. However, keep in mind that the Lucky we saw 20 years ago might be quite different now. I hope fans aren't disappointed if the character changes. If the show has Lucky be Lulu's transplant donor, it completely disregards the show's history. When Lulu had aplastic anemia, Laura turned to Nicholas for a donation because no one else, including Lucky, was a match. This storyline feels so predictable and frustrating. GH keeps bringing back old characters, and once they're gone or dead, they should stay that way. They made the choice to leave the show, and while I'm at it, can we please get rid of Anna? She's so boring, and her storylines, like the Anna Pikeman-Valentin saga, have dragged on for way too long. I started watching GH on Hulu just to fast forward through her scenes. It would have been better if Emma Raylan was playing Lulu. Frank Valentini really needs to listen to the fans, the ones who make the show successful. Sorry, but sometimes the decisions made are just frustrating. Still, I'm happy to see Lucky back. Johnny Wachter didn't even get to experience being a father, which is really sad. Has there been any update on his killers? As of the latest information, Johnny Wachter, who played Brando Corbin on General Hospital, does not have any children. Regarding Christina and the baby's situation, it's clear that Christina, despite being the biological mother through her egg donation, was wrong for planning to keep the baby. She wouldn't have been pregnant if she hadn't agreed to be the surrogate. At the gravesite, Molly yelled, "You were never going to give us the baby." Christina responded, "No, I wasn't." To me, that "no, I wasn't" implied she wasn't planning to give up the baby, not that she wasn't going to follow through with the surrogacy. Also, the paperwork was prepared months ago, but Christina never signed it. Her statement about wanting to keep the baby came after the baby's death, driven by grief. I'm really disappointed about Lulu being recast. Emma Raylan was excellent in the role, and I preferred her over Julie Berman. Looking ahead, if Christina discovers that the first surrogate had and kept TJ and Molly's baby instead of miscarrying, how do you think she would react? Would she support the surrogate's decision, given that she used her own egg, or would she try to reclaim the baby and fight to get her niece back? Christina's actions seem hypocritical, and the storylines are getting so predictable. This scenario could potentially bring TJ, Molly, and Christina back into the same narrative, but they've never really been on the same page. GEH missed a big opportunity by not acquiring the rights to OLTL characters. Roger Howarth and Michael Easton could have continued playing Todd Manning and John McBain, their best roles. This move could have opened up more storylines and allowed for the inclusion of other OLTL characters. It feels like a huge missed chance. Christina naming the baby Adela while she was still pregnant clearly shows she was too emotionally invested. From the very first kick, it seems she intended to keep the baby. Her subsequent arguments with Molly and TJ seem like just a flimsy excuse for her decision. She was in the wrong. One last thought on the surrogacy issue. Did TJ and Molly attend all of Christina's prenatal checkups? Did they ever ask to feel the baby kick, sing to the baby, or talk directly to the baby they so eagerly wanted? From what I've seen, Christina was the only one showing real tenderness and growing love for the baby. It seemed like TJ and Molly were distant, waiting for the baby without making much of an emotional connection. Maybe I missed some scenes, but it feels like they weren't fully engaged. Could they have just not been ready to be parents? We questioned whether Molly and TJ were preparing for the baby, and it was briefly addressed in an argument between Christina and Molly about setting up a nursery. If the writers were going to take this approach, they should have included scenes showing Molly and TJ's preparations, like setting up the nursery, attending prenatal appointments, or taking Lemay's classes. The lack of these scenes makes it seem like Molly is acting out of line. Sisters should have been closer during this time, especially given the situation. Their relationship felt distant throughout the process. The fact remains that Christina would never have been pregnant if she hadn't promised to give the baby to her sister. That's the crux of the issue, no matter which side you're on. I appreciate how GH writers are exploring all perspectives, from Molly and Christina to Alexis and Jordan, even Molly's dad. However, Christina's promise to create and carry the baby for Molly, only to later decide not to follow through, is clearly wrong. Molly had every right to express her feelings. Christina's actions have been incredibly frustrating. She begged Molly to allow her to carry the baby using TJ's sperm, only to then try and keep the baby for herself. That was absolutely wrong. Molly had every right to be outraged, especially considering Christina's history of making poor decisions. The irony here is that Christina wanted the baby for herself and Blaze, convincing herself that Molly and TJ would break up, which she used to justify her actions. That's just not true. Molly and TJ have been childhood sweethearts, while Christina barely knew Blaze. In the end, it was Christina and Blaze who broke up. Karma certainly delivered in this case. The show seems to revolve around Molly, TJ, and Christina, but it feels like this storyline could have been handled better. Having given birth myself, I empathize with those who can't have children. If any of you have experience with surrogacy, I'd love to hear how it went for you. As for Christina's fall from the window, who would have guessed that a visit to Ava would lead to such drastic consequences? Christina had every right to ask Ava not to request her presence in court, considering she was pregnant. It's unrealistic to say she shouldn't have made that request. Why does there need to be a divide between Team Christina and Team Molly? For me, it's not about picking sides, but recognizing that both sisters have made mistakes and are grieving the loss of the baby. This storyline could have been portrayed more authentically, reflecting what surrogacy entails for couples who desperately want a child. I hope that in the future, the writers don't turn this into another sibling feud like the ones we've seen before. For those who think criticism of Christina is unjust, it's not just about her changing her mind or getting attached to the baby. The real issue is her intrusion into something deeply personal for her sister. It's about the betrayal and lack of respect for Molly and TJ's wishes. Christina's change of heart. Christina's decision to keep the baby might have stemmed from a belief that Molly and TJ's relationship was stable and that she wouldn't be sidelined. If Christina felt reassured that her place in the family was secure and that she wouldn't be discarded, it makes sense she would grow attached to the baby and want to keep it. Molly's comments about keeping the baby far from Christina only reinforced Christina's resolve. It's clear from the lack of involvement from Molly in the pregnancy, no feeling the baby kick or being actively involved, that Christina felt a deep emotional connection, which Molly seemed to lack. Molly's involvement. Molly's minimal involvement in the pregnancy could be indicative of her not fully understanding the emotional journey of motherhood. Her focus seemed more on managing Christina rather than connecting with the baby, which might explain why she struggled to empathize with Christina's perspective. Ava's protection and Nina's scene. Ava's protective actions, including informing Trina and Nina, hint at her intention to shield Christina and the baby from harm. The preview scene with Nina on the phone, potentially calling in a favor to remove Agent Cates, is missing from the episodes. This leaves a gap in understanding how Ava's protection and Nina's actions are unfolding. Potential future plotlines. Pregnancy twist. There's speculation that either Molly might get pregnant or the first surrogate lied about a miscarriage. If the baby needs medical attention, it could lead to a dramatic encounter at GH, where Molly, TJ, and Christina's complicated dynamics come to a head. This could involve custody battles and further strain between the characters. Custody battle. If the baby is brought to GH and needs care, Molly might pursue custody, keeping the child away from Christina. This scenario would heighten the tension, especially if Molly is struggling with her own feelings about motherhood and the baby's future. Overall thoughts. The storyline has definitely brought up complex issues about surrogacy, emotional attachment, and family dynamics. Each character's motivations and actions are shaping the drama in unexpected ways, and it seems the writers are exploring deep emotional and ethical questions. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.